Jed Hoyer spoke today, and I'm disappointed. What else is new?
You are Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, alongside Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Thank you for being part of the show and making us your first listen today. And the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, like the video, and comment anything below. Today's episode is presented by our great partners at Booking.com. No matter what team you're rooting for this postseason, Booking.com can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com today. Cubs president of baseball operations, Jed Hoyer, spoke to the assembled media on Tuesday at Wrigley Field. Hoyer recapped the 2024 season, while also talking about the short-term and long-term future of the team. There is so much to get to today. We're going to target a couple main things. First, second segment, we'll cover the old wheel of topics for the rest of what Hoyer said, briefly for the most part there. And then to wrap up, Hoyer basically gave his plea for wanting Cody Bellinger to opt out. So we'll get to that as well. Sam, initial thoughts first from you on the Hoyer press conference.
Yeah, not good. Forgive me if my eyes seem a little squinted. I had an ophthalmologist appointment earlier. My pupils are dilated. They're still sensitive to light. I was disappointed with this, Matt, but before I tell you why, let me explain. I'm not taking anything Jed said here and turning it into what I think the offseason could be. I'm not saying that because he said this will happen. This is just coming from a fan's perspective after a very disappointing season. I thought some of the comments were very tone deaf and frustrating to me as a fan. Okay, I'll start with the positives. There's one. The one main positive was I appreciated that Jed took accountability for the early bullpen struggles. I'm not doing any direct quotes. I'm just paraphrasing here. But he essentially said because of Alzolay struggling and getting hurt, Neris and the Merriweather injury, that he felt like he should have done a better job in the offseason building depth so it didn't cost the Cubs so many games early on. So thank you for that. That matters, and I appreciate it. And usually when somebody admits something like that, they're going to really focus hard to make sure the same mistake doesn't happen again. Where I had my afternoon ruined from this press conference was a couple of things. Number one was the constant citing and using the phrase of outperforming your expectations as an organization. I had this issue a couple months ago on 670. I don't know if you remember that, Matt. About a month. It was
similar, yeah.
And he continues to say this. Why does this frustrate me, guys? Well, it's because by saying that, it's like you're saying, yeah, we're not going to have a team that's projected to be a 90-plus win team. So in order to get there, we have to hope that these guys do better, and we have to hope and we have to do our best as an organization to make them do better. It's fine. You want to have guys outperform expectations, but the Chicago Cubs should also have a guy where if he meets expectations, he's a star player. And he went in and he cited that every team in the playoffs has a 5+ WAR player, but some certain percentage of them what wasn't projected to. It's like he's making this excuse, telling you that this is a small market team. And it ain't just him, Matt. Jed Hoyer is a smart guy, far smarter than I am. And he knows that he's force-feeding that to people. There could be a conspiracy Sam thing coming in where he's trying to let you know, hey, guys, I'm strapped for cash here. Financially, I don't have the ability to go get a 5-WAR player. So our only path is to make some of these 3-4 WAR players 5-WAR players. Even if that's the case, which would totally be on Tom Ricketts and not on Jed, it's still not something you tell your fans after an 83-win season. Hey, guys, we got to hope or we got to develop internally. That's the path to go. You could build an 88, 89, 90-win team on paper, and then if they just meet expectations, you'll be good to go. And lastly, before I turn it over to Matt here, I didn't like the randomness did you hear that word randomness? About the 2-month stretch. Like, that was random.
And they played back to the expected levels.
Yeah, and then they played back to the expected levels. Dude, just win baseball games. Like, for 2 straight months, maybe I wanted to, and let me tell you what I wanted to hear, because people go like, well, what would have said? Here's what I would have said. Regarding the first issue, I would have said something like this. We obviously need a star player, a floor raiser, and a guy that can help those stretches be not as big of a deal because they don't slump. We would love to figure it out. We would love to figure it out internally, but if we have to go get it externally, we should do that. And if you can't, then you can't. But you still just say it. Say something like that. And then as regards to the 2 months, he should say something like, hey, guys came back and played to their expected levels, but unfortunately the damage was already done, and we need to dig deeper and figure out why it was that bad for 2 straight months, because that can't happen. That can wreck a season. It's not that hard to say.
I thought this was Hoyer's opportunity to be open, insightful, and give at least, I'll acknowledge, okay, he's not going to preview the whole offseason, but give at least a small preview of it. And so for all 3 of those checklist items, I thought this was a awfully confusing press conference.
Yeah.
It left me quite, dare I say, befuddled, okay, baffled, all these types of adjectives that you want to use. I just didn't really understand what was going on. Do they understand what is going on? Do they understand what is acceptable and what's not? Do they understand that winning 83 games while going $900K over the luxury tax, it's not a good thing? Multiple times, Hoyer said, I like what we have here. We're optimistic about next year. We've built a good system. What is good about winning 83 games while spending $233 million? What's good about that? What's good about that? Not a single thing is good about that. In fact, it's troubling.
Mm-hmm.
It's troubling. Okay? I disagree with the sentiment of, because it's inevitable that this will be out there, whether it is already or will be in the days to come. Oh, well, what we learned, we didn't learn anything from Hoyer in this presser, and we shouldn't have expected to. Wrong. Given how the season went and that he's entering the final year of his deal, he should have said stuff of substance. He should have.
Matt,
it doesn't need to be an assumed outcome of like, oh, well, we weren't going to hear anything. We should have. We should have heard something.
Hey, Matt, in regards to what you're saying about the $233 million, you know what's really easy to do? Say something like this. Although I feel really, really good about what we've done at the minor league level and the health of the organization, 83 wins isn't nearly good enough, and now it's time to see results on the field.
Right.
In regards to Jed's last year, I think it's important to talk about it. Jed Hoyer has nothing to lose by spending this year. That's why I thought when he continued to say outperforming expectations, internal this, that's more Tom speak. Because let's say Bellinger opts out. We'll talk about him later. Yeah. And Jed overpays Santander. Hypothetically, if it goes well, Cubs make the playoffs, Jed gets a new deal. If it doesn't go well, Cubs don't make the playoffs, Jed's gone. If the Cubs don't make the playoffs regardless, Jed's gone. So he has no, even conservative financially, Jed has nothing to lose by being ultra aggressive this year. It's his last year. And I've actually thought about it. And that actually, typically that's not what you want, but maybe that's good for Jed because he needs to come out of his comfort zone. But the only thing we don't know is maybe he can't. Maybe he can't. Now, of course, Tom's going to say, hey, $233 million is plenty. You're the one that gave Tyone this deal. You're the one that gave this deal. You're the one that does that. So it goes both ways. But I agree with everything you said. I thought this was an opportunity to really try and connect with the fans. And I listened to it live on 670.
Okay.
And then I just watched it a little bit before we came on. It wasn't great body language. It just didn't have a lot to it. And I really also didn't like how he was like, hey, we're in a really healthy place that we're happy about. It's something like the fans should be happy too. Don't tell the fans to be happy about anything. This team underperformed. They're an 83-win team. I have been Team Jed Hoyer since the day we had this show. I have been Team Jed Hoyer since the 2021 deadline. He did make this organization better. He did rebuild this farm system. The organization is in a healthy place. But those things aren't that important when you're not winning. I just want to hear the W word every single time. It's just about winning baseball games. Hey, this guy expected level this, projected this. A lot of talk about Wrigley in this press conference. We've been on that for a while. I think he even said second worst ballpark. We talked about that. And after this weekend, it might be the worst ballpark in terms of offense. I get all of it. Figure out a way to win. That's what fans want to hear. Okay. And they want a guy that they could go buy his jersey so we could have a player in the top 20 in jersey sales because we're one of the biggest organizations on the planet. And listening to Jet makes me feel like we're playing in Miami or Tampa.
So I do have an exact quote about frustration level. Hoyer said, quote, the general sense of the organization is that everyone is optimistic about our future. We put ourselves in a terrific position, but everyone is disappointed in the way the season played out, close quote. I didn't quite catch some of the sentiments regarding the fans, Sam. And then to your point about finances, the big question is, well, why are they choosing to or not able to act like a big market team? And I'm not trying to perform right now. I really would like to see Sahadev, Sharma, Patrick Mooney, Jesse Rogers, Megan Montemurro, Bruce Levine. I think they should all go Avengers style and team up and finally break this story. Because it is out there and we keep floating the word conspiracy, stuff like that. How about we just find out?
Well,
I think it's time.
And we'll talk about it with Bellinger. But when your president of baseball ops comes out and says that one of your better players has a lot of options, he's begging him to opt out because he wants the financial flexibility.
No doubt.
You know, this is obvious. There's no story to break. I'll break it right now. The Cubs have really, really strict financial, constraints.
But you're not breaking why?
Oh, right. No, I don't know that.
Why? Why can't they break through that wall?
Yeah. COVID, maybe. Bad investments. The marquee struggling. Yeah, you're right. Somebody should team up and probably get on that in this offseason.
All right. Speaking of Sahadev, who also followed up on this question a few minutes later. I don't
did
have
a good
that
job.
audio.
I even tweeted about it.
But I have this audio when he asked Jed about, hey, you're talking about projections, dude. What about getting someone that could actually carry you and carry you through the good times and the bad? Take a listen.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting question. I think that you guys have asked me a few times this year about being a star, like star players, and stars can help get through those slumps. And certainly, Cody was a top 10 MVP guy last year and felt like he played like a 5+ win player for most of the year and carried us for big stretches. And that really did help us a ton during that stretch. It's a hard thing to figure. I mean, I looked at it, like if you look at the 12 teams in the playoffs, like every team in the playoffs has a guy that had 5 or more wins this year. So there's no question that when you're looking to beat projections, when you're looking to have that excellent season, having players just outperform expectations is a big part of it. But on the flip side of that, of that group, I think like 5 of the 14 5-win players on playoff teams, only 5 of them were projected to be 5 or more win players. The rest of them just had career years. They had fantastic seasons and outperformed. I do think that's something we lacked this year. I think when you look at our season, we had a lot of guys on the team that had good years. They kind of got back to their numbers, like maybe on projection, a hair above, a hair below. No one really
dealt with it.
Had that, carrying year that Cody had last year. And I do think we missed that. I think there's a number of guys on our roster that can absolutely do that going forward. And I think that's what we have to think through. Like, how do we put every guy in a position to do that? Because certainly, we can look for external things, but also like looking for like, how do we push these guys to have a 5 or 6 win season? Like, what do we need to do to put them in that position? And that's something we'll be looking at really carefully, because it may be external, it may well be internal to have that kind of year, because a lot of the guys that did that for these playoff teams weren't expected to do that either.
There you go. Wanted to play the full thing.
Yeah, it's exactly what we just had. It's
your reactions class.
It's just like, hey, you know who really, even if he slightly underperforms his projection, will be really good? Juan Soto.
Right.
But again, I don't know if that's a financial thing. You know, it's not fair to Jed to go all at Jed. Tom needs to speak too. And, you know, if I could talk to Tom, you want to know what I'd say?
Well, he'll send that email letter next week.
Well, I'm just saying, if Tom ever made himself available to the press, would you know what I would ask him?
What?
Hi, Mr. Rick. It's Sam Wilbur, Locked On Cubs here.
Be an awesome season. We should win this division.
You know, Jed continues to talk about outperforming projections. Do we as an organization have the financial flexibility to go get a guy externally with 5 WAR projections? Can we do that?
Coming up next, we go around the rest of the wheel of topics that Hoyer spoke about. There was a lot. Stay tuned.
This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Hey, NFL fans, you could start the season with a big return on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you could check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Folks, I bet the MLB today, and I believe in momentum. Jed Hoyer doesn't, but I do. So I took the teams that were hot, that snuck in. Detroit.
Yeah.
New York. I took all the underdogs. KC and Atlanta's. At recording time, I'm 3-0, folks. FanDuel, you can bet. Think how fun that is. You're in the middle of a work day, work from home. Bet on a playoff game. Have some fun.
Sounds great.
While you're working. You'll get started with $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. It's America's #1 sports book.
We're also brought to you by Prize Picks, the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to everybody. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. You can run your game all season long on Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. And you can play alongside Drewski, Joe Budden, and MMA champ Sean O'Malley. That's community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off? Which ones aren't? You can make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB. Prize Picks. Run your game. All right, we did mention the bullpen already, right, Sam?
Yes.
Jed didn't do a good job of it. We didn't have depth when injuries hit. We'll look to improve those. Critical moment, we didn't have enough depth that hurt us, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm going to delete that from my sheet. Megan Montemurro asked a couple times about offense. One was the need for more slug. He said we definitely would like to do that. Scoring quickly, especially in today's game, is beneficial. Wrigley Field, Sam, he did say difficult to assess with how Wrigley played this year. We talked about that already.
The offense was difficult to assess, right?
Yes. And let's see what else we have here.
I got a couple things for you if you'd like.
Was there anything about Craig Counsell you wanted to go over?
No, it sounded like he really likes Craig. He'll have a huge impact going forward. I thought there was one big nugget about Paredes.
Okay. What was it?
He gave him a huge vote of confidence for next year. He said he was excited to watch him play third and all that stuff. So I think he's safe trade-wise. Matt, can I just read you
Is
something?
Bush safe? Because he had a lot of good things about him too, though.
Yeah, I would assume, from what I heard today, but again, we're not doing that. But the Paredes thing, I thought he went out of his way to say, hey, really like the Paredes deal next year. But you know what I mean? Somebody may get traded. Maybe they won't.
Yeah.
Can I just read you something? I've talked about the financial thing, and I think I've been a little bit too easy on Jed just because, it's also about how you spend the money, man. I'm going to read you the payroll, 2024 payroll rankings, and you tell me the team that sticks out to you. Ready?
All right.
Top 7. You ready?
Yeah.
Mets number 1. What are they doing right now? They just won a playoff game. New York Yankees.
Playoffs.
Houston Astros.
Playoffs.
Philadelphia Phillies.
Playoffs.
Los Angeles Dodgers.
I see where this is going.
Atlanta Braves. Oh, and by the way, most of their big money's hurt. And in 7th are the Chicago Cubs.
Right, they're the only team that's not in the postseason.
They're the only team in the top 7 not playing postseason ball, folks.
Right, which is why it's a big deal why they missed out despite that number that they dished out. Because they didn't do it to build a buffer. Like the Dodgers had a 100-win roster, the Braves had a 95-win roster. They had some injuries. They still won a ton of games. They still got in. That's the point.
Yeah.
Build experience.
He had a nice little thing to say about Hendricks. Sounded like Hendricks won't be big.
Yeah.
Finish that. Yeah.
Why is it hard, but why is it too early to characterize what they're going to do this offseason? Multiple times he said, 3-4 weeks, we'll know more. Budget, 3-4 weeks. Off-season, 3-4 weeks.
Yeah, I think
How about this? How about Craig replaces you in 3-4 weeks, man? How about that?
Well, it did sound like a guy that wasn't very happy. The
words, he didn't have a good demeanor.
No, he didn't.
He said he's excited for next year. He looks at it as an opportunity. He feels pressure, but he always has had as the president of the Cubs.
Our loyal listener, Brady?
Yeah.
He's been Team Jed for quite a while. It sounded like talking to him today that he jumped off that bandwagon after this afternoon.
Really?
Yeah, he was really upset with some of the comments.
We'll have to have him on if we do a sound off this month.
Yeah. So,
why point out that only 3 of the 12 teams that made the playoffs were projected to win more than 90 games? So what?
Yeah, it's
good for them.
It's like, no, it's just child's play. It's like, hey, well, he did it. Hey, no, teacher, I'm not in trouble. He started it. No, but he did it too, so I could do it.
Right.
How about be different? How about this is the Cubs?
Well, we're going to talk about that more this offseason. The Cubs are one of the Globe's mainstay franchises in all of sports. And they haven't even made the playoffs in a full season in 6 years.
So our longest playoff drought in our time was 09 through 14, right? So it's 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. No, that's only 6 years. And it's been what? If you don't count 20, it's been 19, 21, 22, 23, 24. It's been 5. So we're getting there.
Yeah. So you counted seasons in between?
Yeah, right. So 09, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, they didn't make it.
Got it. Yep.
I think, 03, so 04, 05, 06. No, that's only 3 years.
Yeah.
And I consider my watching time like from 98 and on. So
Right. No, they would be close to the most.
Well, they haven't won a playoff game since 2017.
Yeah, when they made the Final Four. So, All right, couple other things here. Let's see.
Give me some more stuff. Give me some more nuggets.
There's not much more.
Okay.
The last thing they want to do is get away from building through young players. Bruce Levine, who also did a nice job today, to ask them about financial and player currency.
What?
Jed said, we will consider deals that make sense, but he's excited about a lot of our young players, and I think they will have an impact on the Cubs for a long time.
Well, so what do you mean getting away from building? What do you mean by that?
He doesn't want to get away from building through young players.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of talk about, there was a question about, hey, there's no positions for these guys, and he just cited depth. But they're going to have to move. You know so you're just going to have, you know, Owen Casey and Alcantara just sit on the bench till they're 27.
Well, no, they would be in AAA.
Right, that's what I mean.
Yeah. I mean, what's the point?
Yeah, no, they're going to have to make some moves there. Ian Happ having a no trade clause along with Suzuki. I know
it's bad.
Yeah, that's with and I like both those players. They're both good players. Neither one of those should have a no trade.
No,
clause.
it's odd. It's odd.
No, that's not a good job.
Coming up next, Cody Bellinger can return or not. It's up to him. We talk about it next. Today's episode is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more on Booking.com. You might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball rival city. During the postseason is going on right now. A lot of exciting action around the league. Maybe it's time to taste test your baseball competition stadium cuisine. Luckily on Booking.com, you can find the stadium stay that's just right for you. With Booking.com's wide variety of choices across the U.S., you can go incognito to all your baseball rival cities, from L.A. to Philly to New York, Baltimore, Cleveland, San Diego, or even Milwaukee. No matter what team you are rooting for this postseason, Booking.com can make you a fan of any city around the country. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your baseball rivals. Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Jed Hoyer said that Cody Bellinger will, quote, have options, close quote, and that his opt-in or opt-out decision will impact team building this offseason. That latter part isn't a surprise. Obviously, it would open up close to 30 M's more off the books if Bellinger does decide to test the waters again in the free agent market. But Sam, it sounded like he was hinting maybe that Bellinger is going to opt out, but really like, hey, you should opt out.
Yeah, it's exactly what he was doing. Felt like he gave some hope that he may opt out if you're in that camp. But he also just, you know, it's very atypical for somebody in charge of a team, because Cody Bellinger's a good player. Last year was a very, very good player. To come out and publicly say that he has options, it did feel like he was trying to like stretch it a little bit. Hey, listen, Wrigley was really tough to hit this year. His numbers were better than you think. I have been in the camp where I would have been surprised if he's opted out, but more and more people are saying he would. It's just, to me, I look at it from a human perspective.
Okay.
And it's like, think about it. Like, he had such a long wait last year, didn't know where he was going to play. And, you know, is doing that again worth the extra money? Or why don't you just play in this year, see if you have a good year, and then opt out again? But listen, I've said it also that I think it'd be good for the Cubs if he did.
I don't think it's debilitating if he does, but it does offer more creativity.
I don't think it's debilitating if he does either. I think it gives Jed more of a chance to have some flexibility if he does it. No, I'm saying if he opts in. If he doesn't, if he opts out, I think it gives Jed more of a chance for flexibility. If he opts in, I don't think it's debilitating either. Like, I'm not going to sit there. It's not like the Stroman thing. Like Stroman, right, when he opted out, that was good news.
Yeah.
This is more kind of like, all right, let's see what you could do with this then, Jed, if he opts out.
Right, and what he could do is something that we don't see coming on the trade market, in my opinion. We're going to get to this, of course. We got plenty of time, but there's no free agent targets. I mean, I brought up Santander first over the summer, but he's a worse outfielder than Seiya, so he's off the list. So it would have to be a trade.
There's Juan Soto.
No, he's going back to New York.
Oh, and that's a done deal.
And he's also going to have Washington, according to Ken Rosenthal, is going to have a seat at the table.
You know, well, if we
he played there.
Great. If we can't have a seat at the table,
the Nationals, the Yankees, and the Mets are going to have seats at the table.
If we can't get a seat at the table for a generational outfielder in his prime, and Washington does, then guess what, Matt? You know, you could go.
There's kind of a caveat there, but I see what you're saying.
It doesn't matter.
Wait, what was the threat there?
You could just finish this offseason yourself.
Oh, okay. 4 months I'm going to do on my own.
Hey, can I say one thing before we move on?
5 months.
Can you say one more thing?
So, again, we're well over 2 years into this. This is typically the genre of this type of show is a talk show.
I'm almost done, and then I'm going to have a piece of fish. Just be patient.
Who are you talking to?
Nobody.
It's a bad take.
I don't care. It doesn't bring me any joy that the Brewers lose in the postseason, and it brings me no excitement, and it doesn't bring me any frustration if they win. Like, I'm seeing on Twitter already people like, hey, Brewers, we lost to the Brewers by 11 games, 10 games. So we have plenty to keep us busy with our team.
Yes.
I don't like going, oh, yay, another team lost, so I'm excited. I want to be there. I want the opportunity to lose in the postseason.
Right.
I want the opportunity to win at the postseason. I'm not going to wave my pom-poms because Milwaukee's down 1-0. They destroyed us again. I want to beat them. Let them be the ones watching at home and rooting against us.
Wednesday for Thursday, we are going to...
I'm too hyped up. We need a more relaxed show next time.
Very excitedly recap the Sammy Sosa event at Club 400.
That'll be fun.
Friday is going to be a clip show. I have located the win projection episode for March. It's a doozy.
Am I going to age poorly?
And I also want to do one high point segment and one low point segment of the year. Yeah. Sam, what are the candidates for those? I know low point would probably be the white flag episode. We could do that segment.
What was that, like July 15th or something?
No, it was July 3rd.
Oh, got it?
No, it was July 2nd because the next day we didn't record because of fireworks.
Let's not share that publicly. Boy, high point segment.
Recorded on July 4th.
I don't think I have a ton of them off my head. I think I had a really fun episode solo when they swept Baltimore, but that wasn't a high point.
Yeah.
When they went 17-9, I was probably whining about the injuries.
I reviewed that one. It wasn't as exciting as I thought.
No, we were upset
when PCA hit that homer to sweep.
No, well, because we never were super happy this year.
What about, you know what I should look into? A few days later when they beat the Mets after being no hit through 8.
That was a fun win. That was a good one.
Let me take a look at that one.
That was a good one. I feel like I'm going to age really poorly from these.
Thank you so much for checking out this edition of Locked On Cubs. Even us 20 to 30 minutes. We'll give you all things Cubs with a laugh or two along the way. Be sure to hit subscribe on YouTube. Smash the like button.
Yeah, you're laughing because you know it.
No. For the algorithm, and leave a 5-star review on Apple.
That's what you want from this.
You
want me to look like this.
No,
you
I'm
want me to
look
look
because I'm having a good time.
Yeah, well, I'm not.
So, all right, we're going to get out of here. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On.
Go Cubs.